How have your years of experience helped you to become the person who you are today? In this video, I will tell you how my years of experience have prepared me to be the educator I am today. During the first 3 years of my career as an educator, I taught in an urban middle school. I was 22 years old and I facilitated learning for students as young as 11 and as old as 17 years old. Now, I can honestly tell you that my first year was really hard. It was stressful times adjusting to being a new teacher and also interacting with students with such diverse backgrounds. Through it all, I realized that I had entered a world that was so much bigger than I was, that the work that I had begun to do would touch so many lives. During the next 5 years of my career as an educator, I taught high school English. When I got to my high school experience, I realized that I could not do it alone. I experienced a little bit of that in middle school because during middle school we had teacher teams. And so on those teacher teams, we shared ideas, we came up with team plans together, and that helped me out tremendously during the first 3 years. When I moved to high school is a different world. High school sometimes operates more isolated. Teachers have a tendency to be in silos in comparison to middle schools or in contrast to middle schools. But what I realized during the 5 years that I taught as a high school teacher was that I could not do this work alone. I desperately needed collaboration. I needed the input of my colleagues. Believe it or not, high school students still need relationships. So that was another thing that I realized as well, is that relationships are huge. Now, some people think, they're in high school, they're almost on their way to becoming adults, they really don't need anyone. No, that is not true at all. If anything, right before they go into adulthood, they need that mentoring and that guidance even more so. As a high school English teacher, if I had some students who were a little bit tricky to reach, but I knew that they were connected or that they had relationships with someone else, another colleague, whether it was an administrator, it could be a guidance counselor, it could be a community leader, I reached out to those people or those individuals to help me with that student. And what I had to realize too is it wasn't always about me. It was about what I could do to reach that student at that moment to get him or her to the next level. So that relationship that I try to cultivate, or that relationship I tried to build, sometimes required me to collaborate with others. So that was one of the things that I learned as a high school teacher. Relationships are key, and collaboration is also key. After about 9 years in the classroom, I had the opportunity to move into site-based administration. So I went from being a high school English teacher to being an assistant principal at a high school. I can definitely tell you that as an assistant principal, learning that relationships are key and that collaboration is key served me well as an assistant principal. I was an assistant principal at the high school level for 2 years, and I was also an assistant principal at the middle school level for 4 years. One of the biggest things that I learned as an assistant principal was how all of the different parts worked together to help a school in itself run smoothly. Some people say that everything rises and falls on leadership, and in a lot of ways that's true. However, leadership cannot do it all alone. In other words, the principal cannot move the school by himself or herself. It takes a whole community of individuals. Case in point, what the teacher does in the classroom is just as important as what the secretary does when she is greeting parents and students in the front office. What the cafeteria server does is just as important as what the principal does. So it takes all of those small pieces within the school and everything operating like a well-oiled machine in order for students, because again, students are our primary concern. So it takes all of those small parts operating together as one unit in order to give students the best educational experience possible. After 6 years as an assistant principal, I had the opportunity to serve as a district level leader and also as a state level leader. Once again, all of the previous knowledge and experiences as a teacher, as an assistant principal, and now in this capacity, those previous experiences served me very well. I heard someone say before that down is the way up, and I must agree, because as a district level leader and also as a state level leader, it's not about a position or a title. Rather, it's about what is it that, as a leader, what is it that I see I can do to help? So it's about support. In some cases, it's about me putting myself in the position of school level leadership to say, hey, here is what we're faced with right now. What do you think that we can do together to improve this situation? Sometimes it's about me going to a teacher's class and coaching a teacher and having that teacher going through the process of having that teacher to reflect on his or her instruction, talk about those great parts of instruction, and then also talk about Well, what are some things that we could have improved? Or how did the students react to this part of instruction? Or let's look at some student work. What does the student work, or what does the student product tell us about this piece of instruction? Sometimes it's about me going into a teacher's class and making my practice public. So I may go in a teacher's class at the teacher's permission or with the teacher's permission, and I may model a particular mini lesson. So in other words, I'm becoming transparent enough to where I'm going to work with the teacher's students, and the teacher will observe my practice, and then afterwards we talk about what went well and also what can we improve. So again, as a person of support, I become transparent. That's one of the huge realizations that I had as a district and a state level leader, is becoming transparent, making my practice public so that I could have those meaningful conversations with school level leaders, with school level coaches, and also with teachers. I've had so many wonderful experiences as an educator. I have been on the front lines as a teacher with high school students, with middle school students. I've also been a school level leader at the high school level and at the middle school level. In addition, I've had an opportunity to serve as a district level leader and also as a state level leader. The biggest realization that I've had from all of my experiences is that wherever I am as an educator, to make those impactful decisions, if I do so passionately and selflessly, it will be for the benefit of students. Don't forget to leave a comment and tell me how your experiences, whether it's in education, whether it's in leadership, how have your experiences contributed to who you are today in your field of work? Thank you so much for joining us today on Light in Education. We'll see you the next time.